Welcome to the CEO Stylist podcast, where two unlikely CEOs come together and rewrite the narrative of what it means to be a CEO stylist. Yovanka and Kirsten Harris are on a mission, giving stylists permission to join the movement of artists breaking the mold of what is meant to be for the hair industry and creating the life and schedule of their dreams. Fast forward through many failed attempts and lessons learned in the process, it's time to level up the playing field. It's time to call BS on what's been done before. Yovanka and Kirsten are ready to share it all, defying the odds of the industry and teaching you how to do the same.
So welcome back to the CEO Stylist podcast.
G'day.
I'm here today. G'day. Where did that come from?
We haven't got that right.
G'day, mate.
Do you know why I've done that? Because I feel like I say the same thing every time we jump on. Only this time you open, which was great. And I thought, let's just mix it up.
Let's just mix it up.
Just roll.
Let's run with that. And I think people are enjoying us sharing more tactical tips. So today is a really tactical business tip.
It really is. It's a big one.
It's a big one.
What are we going to talk about?
You say it. You just said it before. Say it so I don't fuck it up.
So how to increase your revenue and price your services.
Yay, we love this one. And you are the guru.
I don't know whether I'm that.
You are.
But it's definitely something that I have definitely flagged, although yes, I've got a marketing agency, and why would a marketing agency talk to its client base about pricing? But it all goes hand in hand to me, right? Because the biggest yardstick measure that we have in marketing is increase in revenue. But fundamentally, if a salon hasn't got their prices right, there's only so much that we can do in terms of bringing new clients in. If they're severely underpriced or they don't have a pricing strategy in place that complements their entire staff portfolio, then
everything,
I'm going to shine the light on it.
Of course.
And I do have a magic tool. It's not something that I created, I modified.
Love it. You want to share what it is?
Well, it is a pricing strategy. So I guess the first question is, when we talk about revenue, just to be clear, revenue is your sales income.
Correct,
just
not your bottom line.
Yeah, it's not your bottom line, it's your top line. And turnover, I've actually heard Janine Ellis say this, that turnover is ego, and I 100% agree with that.
So
in
true.
terms of, it makes no difference whether or not you're turning over 300,000 or 3 million.
What's your margin?
Ego.
Yeah, 100%.
What happens underneath that?
Correct.
So the pricing tool, and there's the backstory for me, is that I did a course many years ago with a guy called Carl Keeley, and so they're well known. Him and his wife, they run multi-chain salons, and I guess for me, because I couldn't be on the floor because I'm not a hairdresser, I wanted to cover off every part of how to run a better business model. And so this was a course that came up many, many years ago, and it was how to price your services. And I went, I'm there. Like I know that we had a fundamental issue in our business, and I really wanted to address it. But my observation was, and correct me if I'm wrong, that many salons open the doors in a location, and I always struggled to understand how they came up with their pricing model. And my observation was that most people price their services based on
industry standards or who was doing what in the area.
It was more who was doing what, but then how can they rely on that information?
Correct.
Because how the fuck do they know that salon's got a price right? So to me, this course that I went on, and Carl sung my language, I'm like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. It's science. It's not based on influence by other salon locations. It was literally
by your key numbers.
It's your numbers.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So then I grabbed that, and I've modified it years ago to complement my business. And it's something that I've hung on to tightly because I really respect how this report works, because the outcome is you're putting data in. It doesn't matter, Betty's blow dryers down the road could be X price. We don't give a shit about that because her operating costs are probably vastly different from yours. And so the levers were around your staffing costs, your product costs, and service time. They were the three influences. And then it gave you a profit margin, so an operating margin. So it was I love this tool. And then the second part to that, of course, which we can unpack, is it gives you a bottom line price to punch out, which is equivalent to, let's say, level 3, so your newly qualified hairdresser. But then I guess the other vortex that we'll get into is tiered pricing, which is another more passionate conversation, because that's in context, I guess that's the difference between a newly qualified and, let's say, you. How long have you been hairdressing for? How long have you been hairdressing for?
31 years.
Okay, are you going to be the same price as a newly qualified hairdresser?
Correct.
No. So, but believe it or not, so many salons
still don't do it.
Well, they operate like, well, I've got a price and then that's it. And I'm like, oh. So we know.
Can I just say on that note, in the beginning, I was probably there.
Of course. It's really normal. Yeah.
But let me tell you what was behind it, because I came from, like, I'm so anti-establishment because I fought so hard because it was so constrained. It was so, like, I implode if there's too much. Like, I'm structured, unstructured, and I feel like for some of the bigger brands there was so much structure, and it wasn't structure, it was more hierarchy. The hierarchy is what I didn't like, because back then it was like the top of the tree used to speak to the bottom like shit.
Okay, which is a culture issue.
Which is a culture issue, and pretty much everywhere I've come from is that old school mentality where you had to fight your way to the top. So again, it was probably my trauma, or not my even trauma, it was that I wanted to try something so different, and I went the opposite way. So that's why I wanted to abolish the hierarchy. And there was still a roadmap to get there, and we still had like emerging and senior stylists, or like master stylists. And even after speaking with you, I've had to reassess, and I've had to re-implement the middle of the year. What's it called? Like the yearly mid-year price price check and increase. And now I'm going to implement an even more of a increase,
a tiered structure.
Because in the beginning I was like, no, I don't want it to be hierarchy, I don't want this person to think that, but it kind of backfired a little bit.
It really does. So I think today's chat, this is really, I think there's something in it for everyone that listens, but I think that this is more geared around a salon environment, and obviously hair in this case. I don't know how this would correlate for beauty, and I'm sure they have their different levels, but in hair, when you're running a team. But I think there's something in it for anyone. Even if you're a rented chair, you could be someone that's, a sole trader, you're working for yourself, you don't have another team, and you've just got baseline pricing, which I would strongly encourage a review of that, because that's could be considered a boutique one-to-one service.
Correct.
Right?
And I'm going to give a take for the independent artists out there, how the pricing, because it's more like reverse engineering. And I've got this, I did a course with a girl in America, and she has an hourly dream calculator, which has helped immensely. So I'm going to share that take on it.
Okay. So I think let's look at this from the eyes of an employee right now, because anytime we're talking about price increases, of course it's going to benefit the salon owner, but I want to come from an employee's perspective. So let's use the scenario in your salon right now. You've got emerging stylists, you've got newly qualified, and you've got at least 2 that I'm aware of that have had more than 5 years experience.
Correct.
And so I look at that and go, well, let's pause that for a minute and go, let's go to another industry. We'll use a law firm again, right? So you've had experience using a law firm, correct? So when you have a hardcore piece of information that, like, let's say someone's trying to sue you, who do you want to get advice from?
From the expert lawyer.
Right. So would you assume that you're going to pay, and let's say they've got a junior lawyer there, would you expect that if you're getting your advice from the expert, that would be the top of the tree in this case, the most qualified, would you expect to be paying a different price to a junior lawyer?
Of course.
Yes. So you would expect that your bill, let's say the junior lawyer and the most senior in there has both touched your file, the hourly rate will be different.
Correct.
Okay, so now we'll bring it back to the salon. So you've got your most qualified stylist on the floor versus your not emerging, I'm going to go your newly qualified, your junior, like the junior lawyer, which is the first year out of TAFE, right?
Correct.
Level 3 equivalent.
Yeah, should be.
Should they be charging the same price?
No. So that's where the tier structure has to be revised.
Yeah. It is, and I just think that it's money left on the table for, and this is not about being greedy. This is about being, one, honouring your people for, they've been in the industry for a long time, and I really think for business owners it's hard enough to retain stylists. that we're losing them out of the industry because they can't earn enough of an income, right? So we're going to kind of foster that and go, well, let's give them an opportunity to be able to earn more, make more money, earn more, and have a better commission structure. That's really where it gets to, right? So it's a win-win for everyone, but also it's honouring them because they've been doing this for longer.
For sure.
So without it, there being any...
And even if they are doing it for longer, remember, I think I spoke about it in one of our previous podcasts where we had people question us when we had a price increase, and they were saying, but why are you more when you're faster than such and such down the road? Remember?
Love that question.
I know. So it's the same sort of thing with that, and our take on that. Well, you should be paying more for more experience. Like you should be.
Yeah.
You're not paying for the time. You're paying for the experience.
Actually, this has come up this week because I've been using my pricing tool with a client, and this actual scenario came up where she's the most qualified on the floor, and she said, but one of my qualified stylists takes, let's say, I'm going to use a scenario, 45 minutes longer to do foils than what I do. I went, well, at some point there's a practical decision you've got to make. Like if they're taking 45 minutes longer, I don't know how I'd feel about bleach being in my hair for that amount of time. I think that then presents other issues. That's not, well, because on our pricing tool, that service time affects the outcome. It affects the price that you're going to sell your services at,
it's
right?
Time.
So you've got to be mindful of that when you're using these kind of tools to go, well, what's a realistic time frame to, let's say, put a full head of foils in? Because what would take you 60 minutes could take
someone else
75 minutes or 90 minutes.
This is where it also gets tricky. Let me just relate this back to hair extensions, because everyone wants to know what are the margins, what are this, and when someone is first starting out, and to be honest, if you don't up your speed, your profit margins will dwindle down. It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's a given. It's a good point. So we get asked, all that, and I've had a few in the beginning. Challenger, I'm just not making what I thought I'd be making, and it's like, well, let's go back to your timing.
Yeah.
And then when and they realise.
And is that with your own team? You're having those? I'm not saying that's happening
stockers.
now.
It was more with stockers in the beginning because it was a conversation. So now when we do education, we're a little bit more versed. We make them aware of it. So that's why when we start off, we say don't start off extensions on your normal day. This is something that you have to build up on your on a day that you're not working. Build up your speed and then implement it into your business, because you're not going to get the true.
Okay. Yeah.
You're not going to get the true measurable numbers if you're implementing it and cutting what you're normally doing in a salon. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because
and expecting to see results straight away.
I get you, because what you're saying is when they're learning,
when they're learning
how to ride a bike, they're going to ride a lot slower.
And let me tell you, when they're learning extensions, say a 2-row extensions, in the beginning, they could be taking 6 hours, 7 hours.
Okay, so that's the equivalent. And how many regular cut and colour clients could you do on that time frame? 3?
Probably 3.
3
I'd
to
say.
4, maybe.
Yeah, as whereas, the more practice you have, you want to aim for us, even someone messaged me the other day saying, how long should it take? And, once you do get really skilled at it should take you an hour
per row.
No, for 2 rows.
An hour for 2 rows?
Half an hour per row.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I never even time them when they do
half an hour per row. I mean, I've got a couple of girls that could do it in 15 minutes, but I'm like, slow down, take your time, because they're so fast. They do it every day.
Yeah. Where that, then that is like, let's give the client a nice experience.
A nice experience, which it is. But when you just do it all the time, you're just generally going to get better and faster at it.
But there's also, we're off on a little tangent here, but it is relevant to the conversation. I don't know of a client that likes to be in the chair longer than they need to be.
100%.
I mean, if you're having a massage and a facial, that's probably entirely different. But when you're having your hair done,
they want to be in and out. Everyone's time poor.
Longer than they have to.
No, everyone's so time poor.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's definitely a big measure that, I want to shine the light on for our listeners to go back and review this, because there has to be a practical standpoint with that.
And that particular report that you're talking about is genius. Like when we're still working on ours, do you want to maybe elaborate a little bit how it works? And
yeah, the pricing tool.
The pricing tool.
So, to kick it off, you really need to have obviously a list of your prices, and to get a baseline of what that looks like, a list of services, followed by your service time per block. So when I say block, in the event that you've got like your toner, your foil, toner, cut, blow dry, that's 4 blocks. So you would have let's say it's half head of foils, your half head of foils would be a block. How long does it take you for application of a half head of foils? And then the second measure would be, so we go time and then we go product cost. So when you first start out with this kind of tool, it's like, okay, how many grams of bleach powder am I going to use for is it 50 grams? How much developer? So your per mil cost, your per gram cost. If you're buying in foils, like pre-cut foils, how much are they a box? How many, is there 100 or 200 in a box or 500 in a box? What do they end up being? Is it 10 cents a foil? Factor that in.
It's so great. And you can see like the one that Kirsten's talking about, it's really great because you can see like you think you're charging right, but when you dial it in and you can see the graph change and the colours, it will tell you if you're charging above, below, where you're sitting. Yeah. So I think it's really...
because it's all coordinated.
Colour coordinated.
And then the third measure is your hourly rate, so for your staff members. So, you might have 5 different scenarios of hourly rate, so your gross hourly rate, and then we add on for things like leave loading and work cover and all of that. So there's a bit of a surcharge. And so then the output is your baseline. So you'll put in what you currently, your current price is, X GST, and then it'll give you a colour code of either red, yellow or green. So red is definitely like you need to fix this. Yellow is it's actually, it might be that it sits green with your most junior if you're qualified. They could do that service, but on the current pricing model, your most senior could not.
Yeah. Do you love it when you give that to salon owners and they're like, what?
Yeah, well, we work on it together, and it's obviously got a lot of my old input in it, and because I've modified this report so much, yeah, like I love it. I remember when I first did it in its original form many years ago, and it was scary because I didn't know what I didn't know. Like I didn't know what a charge should be, and I actually didn't even know where Blow Dry Bar got their pricing from, to be honest. And I felt like it really was influenced by what other salons were doing. You'd get 100%. On another website and go, that looks right. Yeah, $260 for half head. But it
looks good.
But the hard lessons I learned, colour brands are priced differently. So mixing ratios are different from one colour brand. All of that impacted your cost.
Correct.
So that was a big, tough lesson. And then I guess the second part to this is then it leads into the tiered pricing, which we were coming back to, is if you're not currently in that structure, when is the good time to do it? And I know with the businesses that I've been working with on this, none of them have had tiered pricing. So this would be
interesting.
And so my recommendation is go slow, because when they put the inputs in, all of them need to put their prices up even before they get to the point of doing a tiered pricing structure. So coming back to what you were saying before about then you get the feedback from the outside, like the external factors, like your clients that go, well, they start challenging it, and then you start to feel shit about it, and then you second guess.
I think when you have this, knowing all this information is what stops you. It empowers you.
Yeah.
Because then it's not an emotional. We've spoken about it before.
Yeah.
It really is. Once you know it, you can answer it, you're versed in what you need to say, and it's not an emotional decision.
So I think if anyone's in this position, like what you're doing, is one, you go, okay, I need an incremental increase across the board before I roll out tiered pricing. And then the second part is you draw a line in the sand and go, all right, by the 1st of July, I'm going to have a tiered pricing structure. I've got other salons that I've been working with that are like, I'm fucking doing it next month. I don't care. I'm at that point where...
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and some really surprising brands where I've gone, wow, you've never had, like you've been hairdressing for 25 years and you're the same price as...
I know, crazy.
Really qualified.
Crazy. And can I just give a take as well, because I want to implement this particular structure that I've been working with these girls from America. It's called like a dream hourly calculator. Now, these girls... because they're working with a lot of independent, and I want to create that within our community as well, because I feel like a lot of our stockers, a lot of them have gone out on their own, but within this framework, and also a part of this framework comes from when I went and did training with Kerwin Ray, because he used to speak about reverse engineering.
Right.
So, and this is where it's genius, where these girls implement, it's not just your expenses, but it's your personal expenses. that are included as well. So there's a chart and a graph of what your personal expenses are, what your business expenses are, and then you can also have your dream hourly calculator, because once you know what you need to make yearly,
to cover your life.
To cover your life.
Lifestyle.
Because let me just explain how this works for a single sole operator.
Right.
Because you don't have, most stylists haven't even thought about their retirement plan. They haven't thought about their holiday plan. They haven't thought about their sick days.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're, working under employment, people forget that those benefits are covered.
Oh, like when you're sick, you still get paid.
When you're sick, you still get paid,
or when you go on 4 weeks annual leave to Europe, you're getting paid.
100%. And when you're not paying the percentage of super.
Sorry, that's cynical.
But it's true. It's so true.
Yeah.
They're the things. But also, these girls, what I've learned from America, I haven't even thought about a retirement plan. So you have to factor that in.
So what's
into
the
your
dream
pricing.
calculator?
So the dream calculator is reverse engineering. So say you want to earn.
So lifestyle, business costs
could be like, say, $250 a year.
Yeah, and so what you're saying
reverse engineer it from there. So then you work it out what you need to make monthly, what you need to make weekly, and then you also need to know what you want to make, because there's a calculator in place that will help you work out based on how many hours you work, how many days you want to work, so you can filter through with this calculator.
I like this.
I know, it's so powerful. That's why we're rejigging it to also work for us here in Australia, because we have different taxes and whatnot. But that way you can import how many hours a week, so you can see if you want to work 4 days, you'll need to work this many hours to accomplish your end goal.
And charge X
per hour. So then also, I love it working in line with your report as well, because then you have two powerful reporting. And obviously you can be fluid.
They're entirely different, because I think the one that I'm talking about is more relevant to a salon with a team where you've got to control expenses.
Correct. But at least that way, if you're still an independent, salon owner working in that salon for yourself, ideally, also, and you can help your staff ideally work on that framework as well, if if they venture out to.
So mine's establishing service prices, where yours is establishing the other side, whereas how much do I need to earn as a technician to cover my expenses.
Correct. Because there are a lot coming out, working independently, or even if they are, I've thought about also changing my salon dynamic and doing the percentage thing, so that way what the KPIs are, or how it would work, because it would really apply for them as well. If you did a percentage thing, because this calculator would work, I can add in percentages that if they're making X and they still have to, their commission's 50%, it would alter and change all the pricing in there as well. So that way you have a clear indication of how many hours you need to work, and it really does come back down to that hourly rate.
Love that.
I know.
So where did you find this one?
I did it through a girl in America. Have I not showed it to you?
No.
I have to show it to you.
I want to do it for me.
100%. But it's really, really, I think, when you are independent, you need to add that personal expense and that long-term, all those, hidden costs that we have.
Well, then you get two sides. You get with mine, it's like you've got your service pricing.
Correct.
And that's relevant whether or not you're self-employed or you're running a team. And then you've got yours, the dream calculator, in terms of what's my lifestyle and business expenses. It could actually work for an employee, to be honest.
Well, let's work on it together and see what we get. But I really do love it, because also it sets you up and helps you understand as an artist how you want to position yourself. And then also when you're saying, the other topic of the question is how to boost revenue. And then to me, it's a no-brainer, because it's what I do. It's what I've implemented in my business. Now we've helped other people is with extensions. We all know that extensions are a top tier.
Well, because they're naturally priced they will be the most expensive service.
Correct.
In your salon.
Correct.
Yeah.
They really are. But also there's a lot more expenses that go with it. That's more client, So we're still balancing that out, because yes, you are making more, but if you're not doing, and it depends what salon wants to do right with it, because to me, I don't want to have to do my social media on my own. I don't want to have to, do admin on my own. So all those extra profits or revenue that helps fund the I guess the different positions of not roles, I guess, but people that can help support the business, that will help pay for that to sustain it, so that I can have that quality of life, you know, with my family and my kids, because that's also important. Because I think people forget to factor in, this is tangible, what you can earn per hour, but people also forget that also expenses, or that what you shared is that you're trading time for money. So that's what you're making on the floor, but imagine the 10 extra 15, 20 hours that you have to do off the floor, which is social media, your admin. Do you know what I mean? So that also,
business,
but that's why for me doing extensions was a no-brainer, because at the end of the day, it's not that I just benefit from it. Everyone, it's a win-win situation. The clients are benefiting from it, because the stylist is not burning themselves to the ground, taking on 2 or 3 clients at a time. You know, they're not able to build the relationships that we're able to build. They're not able to build the quality of work I feel that we're able to build. You know, that diminishes by that old school system. I feel like it's a very, very flawed system. I know we've spoken about it before, but these 2 calculators I think could be a game changer for so many.
So increase revenue, find another service like hair extensions, put your prices up.
Put your prices up and know what your hourly rate.
Have a tiered structure.
Have a tiered structure.
Know what your hourly rate is. And it's different. I'm not even going to say what it is, because it's different.
It's so different for everyone.
For every business.
Again,
and don't work off your neighbour down the road, because that is the wrong way around this.
And I think the other thing is, you know, the break-even cost once you know, and it also comes down to what you're paying staff. As well.
I want to add in there, for our listeners that do run teams, it's really important when you're addressing this from a team perspective, that you do treat your employees like they're running their own business inside your business. So what is their cost center? It's so important.
So important.
Because that comes back down to productivity. Because it's one thing to go, okay, let's just go, this is what their hourly rate is, this is what they earn, 3.5 times, blah. I've heard salon owners punch this out, and I'm like, you fucked that up. Because 1, they don't work 52 weeks a year, they work 46 weeks a year. So you can't, here's their hourly rate times by, divided by 52 times by...
The metrics don't add up.
Does not work that way. So I'm happy to walk people through it. So if people want to know more about that, because I don't want to get too much into commissions.
No. And commissions, everyone, oh my God,
if you want a calculation on that, DM us and we'll happily share. But I just want to highlight for those that are calculating commissions, if you're calculating on a 52-week year, that's what you are handing over to your team members, then you're doing it wrong. You're doing yourselves an injustice.
Correct. And that first one, remember that KPI, which I still use today. Obviously, my commission is a little bit different to other salons, but it really set the tone and it helped me understand it. And then when I present it to them, they understand it.
Yeah, I love that too. I built that one. I love that one.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. It's really good.
Every salon owner
I used to
should have
nerd out in my Excel spreadsheet.
It really is nerding out, isn't it?
And then, it's a bit like me building many chat funnels now. I'm like, I would just add that. And we'll just put that calculation there. And then, I'd go and present and go, fuck, I don't even remember what this is now.
And how many stylists do you know? And I was that stylist who completely avoided it. But having these reports in place.
I think as a business owner, I avoided it.
You try to avoid it. Of course, you don't want to see it. What you don't see, you don't know. And then you can't articulate it. And then you get upset at the staff member that doesn't understand it, or you get upset at the client that doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm telling you, once you know it, it makes life so much easier.
Yeah. Easy conversations.
Easy conversation. Good chat.
All right.
Well, hopefully that's resonated with whether you're an independent artist or a salon owner. Reach out if you guys have any questions.
And reach out if you want our commission structure.
Yes,
I'm definitely not going to hand out the pricing sheet. That's
definitely not.
That's like hard lockdown. You'd have to work with me to get that. But I happily help someone with their commission structure. You would too, because
I would help someone with their commission. This dream calculator, I'm going to be working on it as well, because I really do want to implement that for the series.
Can I be your first customer with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. You're next in line.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right.